happy New Year to each and every one of you, and welcome to the Harborne online still board forum of the first one of 2022. My name is Councillor Peter Fowler, and I'll let over to Jane to introduce herself. Jane.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year to those who have not said it already. My name is Jane Francis. I'm Councillor in Harborne and Cabinet Member for Education, Skills and Culture. Thank you.
Okay. And yes, I should have said likewise, Councillor for Harborne. My role is Shadow Cabinet Member for Social Inclusion, Community Safety and Equalities. And with that, it's welcome to all. Bev is busy doing her stuff in the background. And as Bev mentioned, actually, at the top of the shop, that to advise you that residents listening and participating in the online meeting, that a recording of this meeting is taking place and will be available for future record and reference. And if I'm not mistaken, if Bev's here, I think she'll confirm that he's usually on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right, Councillor Fowler. It's on our YouTube channel, so normally following the meeting, we'll put it up within the next 5 days or so, and I'll send the details out to residents so you can watch it at in your own leisure time.
Lovely. Okay, many thanks for that. Moving on to agenda item number 3, which is the police, and hopefully online will be Sergeant Bushra Zarif. Bushra, are you there? Deep silence.
Yeah,
I don't think she is at the moment.
I will try and contact her because she did say she was coming to the meeting, so I shall try and give her a call while get on with everything else.
Okay, I think if it's helpful, then it's probably just easy then while you're waiting, while we're waiting for you to contact Bushra, if we just move swiftly on to item number 4, which is the parking permit update. I'm pleased that Nick Richards is here. Sorry, Nick, you might have to come in a little bit earlier while we're trying to get hold of Bushra Zarif, our sergeant. So, Nick, over to you.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if I introduce myself and set out some apologies and before I start. My name's Nick Richards. I'm Transport Project Manager, and I am the Programme Manager for Places for People programme, which is a multitude of things that, and it just happens to include residence parking schemes and controlled parking schemes. So I don't know, some of you may have heard of Natalia. Natalia's left, and it has fallen to me to ensure that we keep the momentum going on the delivery of the permit schemes. I am currently looking for somebody to help me and to move it all along. So I will put up the map first. So bear with me if I'm sort of in terms of the areas. How should I say? I did live on the periphery of residence parking schemes and controlled parking schemes, but I will share the plan, and that will help. Oh, we get it. There we go. Okay, can you all see it? Got a dirty great big draft right across the middle.
Is it possible at all just to zoom it up a little bit at all?
I was going to do that. I was going to you can, there's the areas we're going to focus on are the ones numbered 3. I will just make it a little bit bigger for you. I'm just going to right. I'm just trying to make it a little bit bigger again. If not, I'll have to. Okay, right. So tonight I'm going to talk about very briefly about the 5 areas: 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D, and 3E. The outcome of the consultations has identified that the residents have thrown up some specific concerns. I'll start with 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D first, and I will come back to 3E. So bear with me. In terms of the results of the consultation and the advertising of the traffic regulation order, it threw up that the residents had identified some concerns that would require some additional work on the areas 3A and 3D. And I've got 3A down as the Greenfield Road, Ball Street, Ethel Road area, and the 3D as Harborne Lane, Hilldrop Grove. And effectively, in order to move those forward, we would actually have to do and re-advertise the road traffic regulation order again in order to accommodate those changes that have been suggested. Those suggestions have seen as having merit, and therefore we would like to take those forward. But then that leaves us with 3B and 3C. In terms of 3B, so that's the Leahurst Crescent Cross Farm Road, and 3C is the sort of the Quinton Road, Paul Crescent, Northern Road, Caddenham Close. If I haven't mentioned any of the roads, it doesn't mean they're excluded. It just means that there's quite a long list. So the intention is there were objections and there were how should I say, comments made against that some of the residents would wish us not to continue with those schemes. We are mindful of the benefits in bringing those schemes forward, and I am currently working on the report to take that forward for those objections to be considered. And that is part of the governance process. If the cabinet member, in consultation with the ward councillors, consider that we should be taking the scheme forward and, for want of a better word, overrule the objections in terms of generating those schemes, I am looking to implement by late spring, and we should have them all tied up before the Commonwealth Games is my intention. Those will be there. With 3A and 3D, with the subsequent additional consultation and governance, they are likely to follow around 3 months later. So those are going to be towards the end of the summer. And if we say early autumn as well. It is a bit I'm not quite specific at the moment. I'm still working my way through getting the report written, and also making sure that the plans to go with the report actually reflect what was agreed and along all the comments that were there. So in summary, it is the intention to move forward with areas 3B and 3C, subject to approval of the cabinet member, into delivery, and that's implementation, so that they would be delivered late spring. And then we would then be looking at the same time to do the consultation and the advertising, the TROs, plus any further tweaks to the lines and orders in area 3A and 3D, so that they follow literally after the Commonwealth Games as a thing. So that would be August, early September, with them all being finished. So those are the schemes that are currently live, and those 3B and 3C are currently funded. So we can just proceed with those. And then if I move on to 3E. 3E is currently coloured red at the moment, which was a scheme to be dropped. It is going to be an orange scheme, and the code for an orange one is a area to be progressed subject to further funding. Councillor Fowler kindly sent me the results of a resident survey, which suggested that there was a feeling that a residence parking type scheme would be supported in that area, the area 3A, so that 3E. So that's the sort of Station Road, Park Hill Road, Regent Road area.
No.
Sorry.
Carry on.
Oh, sorry. I thought I just heard somebody say no. So
Yeah, I'm saying no.
Oh, right. Okay. Would be, and therefore we would like to put that forward for future funding and for future development of a scheme. Not this financial year, likely to be in following financial year. I think that's all.
So I've got myself still on mute. Sorry, Nick. I meant to say, is that your full brief on that? Is it?
That's all I've got at the. That's all I've got at the moment. I'm working as. I will apologise to everybody. I'm sure they wanted a lot more detail. As I'm working my way through to get down to the nitty gritty. And that will be in the report to the cabinet member, which I will, of course, be. It will be a public document, so everybody will be able to have that.
So, yeah, thank you, Nick. Are you still okay to hang around? Because I think there may be a few questions. I can see 2 or 3 coming in now. So yep. First of all, I'll go to Gina and Mick. They were first, then Councillor Francis.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. I mean, I work for Gina. I look after her son as a carer, and I've got 2 or 3 emails with that Natalia. I just want to confirm that carers get a permit for free if you're 24/7.
Yes, there is a carer's permit that is allocated to the household, is allocated to the carer and per person. It's not specific to the individual. It is specific for the need of a carer.
What happens if you need more than one carer at the same time in different cars?
I don't know how that carer system works. I don't know if you can have more than one permit, but
well,
there is a.
You could.
Sorry.
I was told you could.
Well, if is that from Natalia?
Yeah. So it's no good you now changing or somebody changing the goal.
No. I'm not. As I said, Natalia, if those very detailed questions, if Natalia said that you can have more than one.
Yeah, but we've got nothing in writing.
We haven't got anything.
All right. Well, if you want, sorry.
Just come in there, Nick, just to say to Gina and Mick, your point is taken, and Nick, would you be so kind just to investigate that question about the carer's permit, and then we'll get back to Gina and Mick. Is that okay, Gina?
Yeah. Well, that was Mick's question. I've got a question. My question is, why have you done area A and B and all the other spurs? Why haven't you done area 3E first? Because to me, it's squealing out that they are the ones who need it more than we do. I mean, I live in a grove. We police our grove. We sort our grove out, no problem at all. And there was hardly anybody comes up here now. Now, Denise Drive, the next drive up, I noticed you're not even putting a permit up there. Why?
Private houses.
Well, why should council houses be the one penalised? Because that's how it's looking.
So, in terms of, in which area are you in, Gina? Sorry.
I live off Cross Farm.
You live off Cross Farm?
Yeah.
And
3B.
3B. Thank you. And so you've submitted an objection to the implementation of 3B. Okay. In terms of all the objections will be considered as part of the.
Yeah, but as you've just said yourself, you could be overread. So you know, what's the point? What's the point of objecting if you're just going to ignore it anyway?
No.
Overreading.
Chair, can I come in, please?
Yes,
I
please do,
think it's
Jane.
really important that residents and non-residents on the call understand that no decision has been taken yet, because it's a decision that's got to be taken in the first instance by Wasim Zafar, who's the cabinet member for highways, and then any decisions have to go to cabinet for ratification. So there is no decision made. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Joan. That was helpful as a cabinet member. So there you go, Gina. No decisions made. You were still down. Is there anything else you wanted to say, James? I saw your hand was up. Was that?
No. Well, one other thing. There are some new faces on the call, Councillor Fowler, and I think it's important that anybody who's not a Harborne resident identifies who they are and where they're from. Thank you.
Right, okay, when they come on, yes. Phil.
My name's Mick. I live in Quinton. I just work at Gina's in Harbour, and I live in Quinton.
Okay.
I think you know that because you joined previous.
Yeah, loads of time.
It's just new faces to have on this evening. Thank you.
Right, let me move on to Phil. You're next.
Me?
Yes, Phil.
Sorry, I've only just joined. I'm sorry. Look, this is supposed to be about the immediate area around the hospital. So area 3E should be the last thing to be being considered as part of this discussions. It's not right. On behalf of Harborne Planning Watch, we submitted detailed comments on everything. I went for hour after hour after hour checking the facts, and yet they're all dismissed because of this obsession that there must be a traffic order on every yard of road in this area. For example, Harborne Park Road, southbound carriageway. Everybody knows what a danger it is, that long sweeping left bend, and yet that has never been included in the proposals, although they were in the proposals of the previous aborted scheme. I shall oppose these schemes where they have failed to listen to proper consultation. Everyone knows you drive down Harborne Park Road in the outside lane because you get trapped in the inside lane. Now, currently with the COVID, there are not so many cars, but there's still cars in this stretch of Harborne Park Road before you reach Cross Farm Road. And it is dangerous, and people who live there have been complaining for years about it, and nothing's done. The other facts are just dismissed out of hand. I was on about the bus stops being repositioned, and we just told the bus stops are not done by the City Council, and therefore you must write to the bus stop, the West Midlands Travel, or whatever it's called. There are lots of things here that could be refined and brought into much better control. I mean, this business, you know, the wide grass verge in Metchley Lane, they refuse to consider every year for about the last 25 years plus. We're saying this land, the former prefab site, could be developed as a car park, not a big one, a modest one, even just surface area. It is rejected time after time after time. I just don't see how these proposals are getting on for well over 2 years to come forward, and they don't really reflect any of the comments that have been submitted by people who actually give some real attention to it. And I should object to those that I don't think are appropriate. I have tried to get Margaret Road and Greenfield Road and Ethel Road, I think it is, to sort of be a triangle for residence parking, because the people who are living in the terraced houses just at the start of Greenfield Road, there's no way they can park in front of their houses. There's no way they could ever plug in an electric cable unless they got a 5-mile cable to go around the block. That has been said it will be looked at, and yet Abbey Road and Maylings Road, they work perfectly well now. There's absolutely no reason to change the existing things in those roads. But the people at who are doing the accounts, and these are consultants. It was never very clear made clear before that these are actually outside consultants who are doing this at a cost of at least, the first figure was 41,000. Goodness knows what they've charged since. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Phil. So before we move on to the next one, Nick, did you? I guess you picked up on all of that Phil has put forward, because you're still delving into the emails and notes, I take it, of this having recently taken over from Natalia.
Yeah, and I'll pick up what I know that Ethel Road and that area there in 3A came up as part of the discussion, I believe. Hence why hence why 3A is part of the looking at it again. I'm picking up the comments, so I don't think it's fair to say we're not considering everything. It's just that I think in terms of 3B and 3C, those were the ones where they were the straightforward in terms of the consideration. 3A and 3D were the ones where people had put forward specific considerations that would make the schemes work better for them. Hence, they've been taken out of the delivery package in terms of effectively tranche 1. 3B and 3C are tranche 1. 3A and 3D are tranche 2, and they're going to follow once we've got the consultation. There'll be an opportunity for people to object, amend again and again, bring them to yourselves, the board councillors, and to Councillor Zafar. So there is an opportunity again for people to continue to have another say on trying to refine what goes on in 3A and 3D. And I'm sorry if I sounded that I was presuming that we would get the go ahead for 3B, 3C. That's just my planning head on there. I've got to think about what happens if it does. So I apologise to everybody if I gave the impression that there is a lot to happen before anything, a decision is made to go ahead with those. So I apologise now from the bottom of my heart that I didn't want to give people an impression that it's a foregone conclusion. All it is there were no further changes that came about as far as I'm aware from the consultation. I will go through this, and I am drafting the report, so I have to read through all the consultation responses, all the TRO responses, and put together this report that I think reflects the views of the residents in terms of the schemes that have been put forward. Any of the suggestions will also be put forward into those, but if they don't fit the objectives of the scheme, they will be mentioned, but they won't necessarily be acted upon. Okay. And there isn't the funding for those for things that aren't on the highway. So I'll just say that now, but I think that's only fair to everybody. But it's not a foregone. It is not a foregone conclusion yet.
Nick, can I thank you for a very in-depth and very positive comments that you've made there, taking notes of all that has been said. And again, my thanks to Councillor Jane Francis, who quite rightly pointed out that once all this has been done, it then goes to Councillor Zafar as Transport and Environment, and then on to Cabinet for their approval. So still more things to come. Before I forget, we've got Cavan Hawker. Cavan, you've been waiting for a good while, so over to you, Cavan.
Thank you. I'm just saying about the plans for Area 3B. I think it's absolutely essential that the Metchley Lane stretch goes ahead, and also that Bantop Way is included on that as well, because I've noticed with Metchley Lane, there's like really serious issues with traffic actually being able to get up there properly because of, parking on one side of the road, and then dare I say, in some cases, there's even been double parking. Also the fact that it's a bus route as well, I think it's important that that's kept clear to prevent any accidents, in the interest of community safety, to keep people safe from rather being hit by a car or cars having accidents with each other. In terms of Bantop Way, I would say we've got a sheltered housing block on our estate called Metchley House, where a lot of carers go in to visit residents. Ambulances constantly go in and out the estate to visit residents on care duty to that particular block. So I think if the plans do go ahead, please, whatever you do, make sure you include Metchley Lane and make sure you include Bantock Way.
Okay, I certainly will. I think I should add as well is that if there is some of the comments that I've been getting since I've been picking up, well, I think one of the most important things that people have been saying is, if it does go ahead, when will we know how to apply for permits? And, you know, whatever the permit is, whether it's a paid permit, a residence visitors book, carers permit. One of the things will be is there will be information that goes out well in advance on any scheme that does go ahead, to enable people to get whatever they require, whatever permit they require, in advance of the scheme going live, whichever, if it does go live. I don't want to keep putting the caveats in. I'll just say that the information will be available should a scheme go ahead well in advance, so that people are able to make a timely application for their permits, and to give the enforcement team the time to issue the permits. Okay.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Kevin, for that question. Nick, you've suddenly jumped on this before Christmas. You must have had a wonderful Christmas time, and still going on, going through the various say emails and notes, and now taking on board the comments that residents have made. And I think for Gina as well, I was quite pleased because I'd forgotten that there was a carers permit, so I'm very pleased to hear that. Nick, I have had people ask me that as and when this does come, I think you mentioned the word pricing, but somebody asked me the other day saying, is a parking permit per month or per year? I said, honestly, I can't remember. This has been going on, like Phil said, for a couple of years, and I can't remember, unless you may not know yourself at this moment in time, but I said I'd ask.
No. I have the an enviable duty of also looking after the two city centre CPZs, residence parking schemes, nice. And I have lived those as well. It is £19 a year. I think at the last it was about £19 a year. I would be able to tell you that it's something like 30p a day or something silly like that. But yes, it is £19 a year, and it is an annual application. It is not. It isn't. You don't automatically get it. You have to make an application for your permit.
And just as one of the things was raised very quickly, Nick, that £19 per year for one permit, and of course, should a person have two vehicles, can they apply for a second one? Is that same price, yes, or what?
No, it goes up to now let me get this, it's £32 unless it's gone up, but the last time I looked it was something like 32 to 36 for the second permit. Okay, again, that's in line with discouraging discouraging and encouraging mobility, sustainable travel. I think I should point out now as well, I think that was one that came through, I think Natalia asked me about. At the moment, what is usual is everybody is guaranteed, who requires one, the first permit. If there is capacity and a need, there will be also the opportunity for a second permit. Very rarely is there a third permit.
Sorry, Nick, carry on.
That's generally speaking, that the road space in there are very few areas where the road space is such that there is enough room for any household to have a third permit for parking on the highway. I haven't come across one yet. So the chances are that if anybody, everybody will get a chance of one permit. There is a good chance that everybody will get a second permit, but that's not guaranteed, and it will be on demand. and the chances of getting a third permit is probably very, very, very remote.
Okay.
Oh,
Nick, I'm much obliged to you for going through this with us, up to date, and very grateful to all the residents as well that have made their particular points, their particular comments, which you have taken on board, and then you'll feed in and come back to us at some point. Last one, Gina, before I move on.
Yeah, I just found an
Oh,
email
Nick, sorry.
off that Natalia. It says a blue badge holder gets one free, and then residents that need a carer can apply for carers permits free of charge. You need a letter off your GP. So your statement just previous, when you're not going to get more than two, more than likely. What if there's 2 or 3 carers?
no,
Coming
that's
at the same time.
no, that's
District
for,
nurses.
no, that's for the vehicle permits. That's not for carers permits.
They've got
That's
vehicles.
That's for the paid permits. For residents permits, residents get 2, not carers. Carers permits are something completely different.
So you could have 3 or 4 of them, and that doesn't interfere with that then.
That is under special circumstances and to do with a physical a need.
Okay,
Thanks, Gina. Thanks, Mick. One thing I'd like to ask you, Nick, before I say goodnight to you, could you tell us what your email address is, and maybe you could type it as well in the chat, because then people then, if they've got any questions after this meeting, they can then, is it okay if they can email you questions or what have you?
They will send it, if they send it through the inbox, I'll in the chat. Yeah, I will put the transport projects inbox.
That's perfect.
And if they put their road name, and if they happen to know what the area is, that will help me as I navigate around the area, the various areas that are there. So, and if they put their query in, if they're very specific, and give me a road name in which it relates to, if that's possible, or if it's an area one, at least give me some ideas about how I can navigate around the area. Just remember, I've not been involved in the area, so if you say, oh, right outside my door, I don't know where your door is, and I unfortunately I don't know everybody, so giving me your name doesn't help me either. So just bear with me in my lofty position as the manager. I haven't been involved in the detail. If you could do that, I'm very happy to respond to other queries as I'm going through the all the comments that have come back, Councillor Fowler.
Much obliged, and I'm sure everybody else is on this meeting. Much obliged for your update and the information, and for gathering all the questions, and obviously more questions I'm sure will come from the inbox as well. Nick, I wish you good night and thank you for your time, and I'm sure that we'll see you again on this Teams meeting, or possibly face to face in the future. Thank you, Nick.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye. Okay, thank you, Nick. Just before I hopefully ever got Bushra on, I just wanted to welcome, because I was seeing in the chat box, Mel or Melanie Coton. I want to say hello, Mel. Are you there at all? Just want to quickly say hello.
I am. Hello, everybody. It's nice to meet you.
Hi,
Thanks
Mel.
for introducing me, Councillor Fowler.
So could you explain a little bit about your role? I can see it's development officer.
Yes, so I've been here about 4 months now, and the main part of my role is to support all the wards across the city with the ward planning. So that's the main element of my role, but also the city is split up into different geographic areas in terms of different officers that can support. So I've been assigned Edgbaston and Northfield as the link officer into the neighbourhood development and support unit. So if there was ever a need from your ward where you needed some support from NDSU, then you can come through me. So at the moment, I'm just having a little visit to some of the ward forums to understand a little bit better about what's going on in the areas that I'm going to be linked to.
Okay, and if anybody that's on here now wanted to contact you to ask you a question, are you able to put your email address for them to contact you?
similarly to Nick, we have an inbox for neighbourhood development and support.
Lovely.
And certainly that will come through to me, any queries, so I'll put that in the box now.
That's smashing. Thanks, Mel, and welcome indeed.
Thanks.
And I hope Nick hasn't gone, because I was hoping he's going to take this this map down as well. Unless Bev, you can do it.
Has it not gone? Is it still?
Bev was messaged in the chat function. There's still no contact from the police. So do you want to move on to item 5?
So still nothing there, Bev, from...
No, nothing at all. I mean, she did say she was going to, she did send me an email to confirm that she was attending. That was last week, but I haven't been able to get hold of her. So I'll keep trying.
Okay.
I haven't got a contact phone number, so it'll have to be by email.
Yes, I was going to, I think she did mention about the next PAC meeting. I think it might have been the 5th of March, but waiting for her to confirm on that. Okay, so we'll wait to see if we get the police come back to us later. So let's go on to item 5, which is first of all, ward councillors. So Jane, do you want to go first either?
Apologies, I've muted. In no particular order, there have been issues in recent months, as you'll be aware, Councillor Fowler, with travellers setting up site on the royalty, which of course, as everybody will know, is privately owned land. So the owners of the land and the property, which is a listed building, as you remember, were the ones who had to try and seek a High Court junction. When I was there this weekend, there were still travellers there, so I think they moved and then moved back on again. And it's been further complicated by the fact that there are children on the site, and some of the children were sadly diagnosed with COVID, so that's exacerbated the situation there. So that's ongoing. I understand that the owners are doing everything that they can to get a satisfactory result to this situation. Whilst on COVID, there have been collection problems, bins and general recycling in recent weeks. Some of that has been to do with the Christmas holidays and particular collection dates. And really exacerbated by crews across the ward coming down with COVID. So when there aren't enough crews, you can't get people out. I know that some residents and businesses have been really unhappy with this, and we've done everything that we can. I have been meeting with residents who live on and around Harborne Primary School who've got significant concerns about road safety. So these residents who live in Regent Road, Clarence Road, Ravenhurst Road and Wentworth Road, we've been working together to, we've had an officer out to look at possible initiatives that can reduce the impact of very dangerous, either fast driving on and around the school and or really inappropriate parking on WLO lines. And there have been a couple of times when I've been out there myself, mornings and afternoons, and have seen it myself. The mobile recycling unit, I'm very pleased to say that it's continued extensive support across the city, but particularly in Harborne. Of late, it's been going to Welsh House Farm Estate, where there's been a significant problem with fly tipping. We're doing our best to identify the culprits, who are Welsh House Farm residents, but it's good to see that the mobile recycling unit is working very favourably for residents. You will all be aware that it costs the council a huge amount of money to clear up waste that's just deposited by either businesses or residents, and it's those people who are responsible for it. Finally, and perhaps I was going to introduce this on our policing bit, but last Saturday we had a visit in Harbour from the Police and Crime Commissioner to talk at Simon Foster, to talk with some local residents, and I have to say, so it was a Labour Party meeting, but there were a number of local residents there to talk about policing and crime issues. There have been a number of very serious concerns in terms of vehicle theft, with people being attacked sometimes on driveways, And it's a problem because policing numbers have been reduced to such an extent that it's hard to get the physical bodies out there, where police officers are having to prioritise other areas sometimes. So that's a concern we're trying to address. I think that's all from me. Councillor Fowler, anything from you?
Thank you, Jen, and thank you for your update. First of all, yes, you're quite right, Jane. We have been very successful with the recycling in Welsh House Farm, particularly in Rutley Grove, where sadly, as Jane has alluded to, is that we do get a lot of dumping and fly tipping from residents, and some people, in fact, coming in to the area. Consequently, we get such a problem there for Lifford Lane, for the waste department to come along. However, we're still calling for, and I did a petition for some street lighting and CCTV cameras around there, and also talked to residents and to officers about policing, because we've got a lot of people that actually, or agencies, should I say, that are in the children's centre on the Welsh House Farm in Wilston Road. And again, what I was trying to do is trying to get a police drop, but if Busher does come online, she'll be able to update us on that. I managed to get into what they call the Local Partnership Development Group, which I explained about the policing and also about street lighting and many other things, in particular bins and the roads. And after listening to me going on for about 20 minutes, they all decided it needs to be part of their Local Partnership Development Group, where all the partners come together and look at different problems that they've got on Welsh House Farm. And hopefully we'll be having a meeting next month to take this further and see what action plans that staff on housing and other things that are coming up with on that. Travellers, in fact, Jane won't be aware of this because this came in a little while ago. I did contact one of the officers if they got any update, and they are telling me that bailiffs and police are going to the site tomorrow morning, Jane, to serve the injunction. Once served, it'll be in the hands of the police to give a reasonable time for them to vacate the site. So they're hoping, fingers crossed, that the travellers might leave by tomorrow evening, but we'll have to wait and see when they serve that injunction tomorrow. One good thing for all residents, particularly in the high street, that myself, Jane and others, businesses and other residents have called for the high street to be completely resurfaced, and that is currently ongoing. Likewise, Rose Road, that was one that I particularly called for because it's such a bad road. In fact, I actually say it was probably one of the worst roads in Harborne, and they did schedule it for May, but I said it's such a bad road, you need to try and bring it forward, and I'm pleased to say that they've now brought it forward to the first week in April, and the officer said if he can, he'll try and push it forward even further. And I know that from West Boulevard, that many residents on the Welsh House Farm were very much against the 5G monopole that was going to be erected there. Again, we did a petition and a call for that, and that was actual fact refused. And I was pleased to hear as well that the same thing happened to one that was going to be up on War Lane, because I thought it was intrusive in the green area and couldn't understand why 3G, I think it was, didn't actually communicate with BT, because at the back of War Lane, where the bungalows are, there is a very, very big BT exchange. So I said, why on earth did you not call BT? Anyway, consequently, the planning took that on board, and that was also refused. So we've done rather well. And equally, I know residents in Park Hill Road were very annoyed to hear that there was a house of multiple occupation going to be put there. Again, likewise, I did a survey with people in a petition, and that came forward, and that was also rejected as well. So all in all, we've done some good work for the residents of Harborne. And with that, Bev, is I'm just looking to see, I'm just seeing, just very quickly, I'm just trying to see Paul Weston. Paul, in fact, you'll be one, especially with West Boulevard. And thank you, Paul. So I was going to should have mentioned about the speeding on West Boulevard, where myself, my colleague, Councillor Dominic Stanford for Quinton, because it falls on both sides. We've got a lot of speeding of car racers, etc. And we've been contacting with Wazim Zafar, the cabinet member, and he sent us back a, well, I'll call it a disappointing response, but I think it's because that Wazim actually doesn't quite understand the situation there. But what I'll do is I'll bring in Paul to speak a little bit more as a local resident there. Paul, over to you.
Good evening, all. Yeah, I raised my hands with regards to the wastes to start with, because I know that we've been in contact with both councillors with regards to the fact that we hadn't had a regular waste collection or the date when it was meant to be collected since around about end of November. So they seem to be missing us routinely. However, I was going to say I can report that today was the first time since the 29th of November where we've had a regular collection. So let's see if they can keep that 2 weeks in a row. My question really was with regards to the mobile units. I know I'd emailed this to you both, but it was a case of, for those of us that work during the day or during what I class as normal working hours, it's a case of we can't use those mobile units because it's either a case of booking a day off or having to basically do something else or take it down the tip. So I think it's a fantastic incentive, but for those of us that do work during the day, we can't take advantage of this. So it's just to see if there is any plans to basically widen the scope of either doing one evening collection every once in a blue moon, or if there's any way of doing it for a weekend, etc. And I appreciate that the council workers, you know, it's overtime, etc. But for those of us that can't use that service, it would be a great way of basically seeing if we could utilize it as well.
Yeah, I'm going to bring Jane in a moment, if I may. At the last time when I was at the Rutley Grove, particularly recycling the other week, is that I had a number of residents actually mention that to me, because I think, if I'm right, Jane, it went to 8 till 1, but then they brought it back 7 till 12. And I've had a number of people saying, isn't it a great shame you couldn't do it much longer? Now, Jane is a cabinet member. I don't know whether you know anything, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's going to be difficult because it's a fairly resource intensive operation. So having staff to cover across a 7-day period or a longer working day, I think would be hard. However, we can take this suggestion away, and I can discuss this with cabinet colleagues. We're just really pleased that as a council people are taking advantage of it. I'll also be aware when I've been on the site as well, people, wherever it's located, and there's a spreadsheet, and the identification of the site is based on the incidence of fly tipping. So that's why it's going to particular bits of Birmingham. So at present, the vehicles go to different sites on different days. And as Councillor Fowler said, it starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's effectively, a 5-hour operation on the morning that it's available. So we're hoping that people can make best possible use of it. I'm also acutely aware that people, wherever it is, people who often don't even live in Birmingham drive in and take advantage of it as well. They pick up information. So, yeah, it's the first time this Labour Council has introduced this initiative, and I think, we learn throughout and can take the recommendations and suggestions of residents on board. And
yeah, I've heard nothing but positive reports for both of you. I was going to say, from neighbours that have actually utilised the service. I think it's fantastic. And I've heard nothing but positive reports. I think for me, it's a case of where we got rid of the bulk collections, which obviously helped with regards to reducing fly tipping. If obviously they can't extend the hours, my question would be, is there any possibility of considering a bulk collection, again, once the blue moon? So I'm not suggesting on a regular basis, but at least that way it would help to reduce any kind of fly tipping as much as possible. Because surely the cost of the collections for the fly tipping sort of help or contribute towards this kind of service.
I think, Paul, with respect, that calculation was made before the service has changed, and overall it's cheaper, and we have to get local residents and businesses to take responsibility for their own stuff as well. I'm sorry, it costs a lot of money to clean up. But we will take, Councillor Fowler and I can take your comments away and see what cabinet colleagues think. It's not my call, I have to say, but I'm mindful of what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. And as Jane has just said, we'll both take that up with the cabinet member and see what the feedback is. But thank you for all your various comments on that. That's been very, very helpful. I think we can move on to 2 now, and hopefully I managed to contact and get hold of Kate Smart from the BID, or the Harborne Business Improvement District. Kate?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you see me?
We
I
could
have
see.
had a nightmare getting on this meeting. I've got devices everywhere that I've been trying to get on with, but finally here. So, oh, I didn't think to tidy up behind myself. Right, so you want to know what we've been up to? My
Please.
goodness. Well, this year is huge for Harborne Village BID. We have got a lot coming up. We've done a lot, and for those that don't know, bids run for 5-year terms, and Harborne's bid is now in year 5 of our first 5-year term. What that means is that later in the year we will be taking all the businesses to ballot and working out, well, not working out, letting them decide whether they want Harborne to continue to have a bid. The sorts of things that we deliver and have been delivering over the last 4 years, and hopefully you may not even notice because you might have just got used to these things happening, but this is all down to the investment of the local businesses. So it's the events that we put on, it's the security that we have via our warden, and the warden we have at the moment is fantastic. You may have seen her, hopefully, walking around. She's brilliant, like a whippet. We have been, unfortunately, we've had a spate of graffiti tagging appear in Harborne. Now, I was always very proud amongst my bid colleagues, like, yeah, we don't really have a problem in Harborne. Well, some little horrors have started to tag. We had some large tags. I think there were 5 pieces that happened overnight one night, and within 48 hours, the bid had got them removed. There are currently some on the windows of Home Bargains, not Home Bargains, the old Peacocks, which is owned by Home Bargains. I have contacted their local representative because we've kind of got a policy with the bid that you need to get rid of it as soon as it appears, otherwise it encourages more tagging. But that's their property and it's on their glass window, so I was a bit concerned about scraping it or causing any damage, so I needed their permission. They haven't come back to me, so that's another thing I've got to keep chasing. But just to say that, you know, as a bid, we are trying to remove stuff as soon as it appears, and I just hope that we're not seeing the start of more tagging. I'm a bit concerned. There's a local graffiti artist called Disney that keeps putting his stencils everywhere, and I do worry that that encourages graffiti from taggers. So we've just got to keep on it. We also do marketing of Harborne. We do promotion through all our Harborne Village stuff, and liaise with our councillors and the local police to make sure that we're working in partnership as best we can. We've also managed to draw down some funding through the COVID recovery. There's been some European Regional Development Fund pennies that we've managed to draw in. One of the things that that's going to mean for Harborne is that in March, hopefully, I've got to get the date, it's got to be spent by the end of March, the High Street, so once all of the resurfacing has happened, the High Street is getting a jet wash. So all of the paved areas that are not tarmac within the bid area are going to be sparkly clean, free of gum, and just look a whole lot fresher, which is great. Because obviously with the Commonwealth Games coming up, we're going to have lots of visitors in Harborne. So that's another big project that the bid has got coming up. Very aware that we've got a lot of work to do with the Commonwealth Games. And one of the things that we're looking at, and Councillor Francis and I have spoken with some of the teams within the council, is about getting some clear walking routes from the university site, whether it's for the athletes that are staying there or people visiting the games, to be able to find an easy way to get to Harborne, because we want to attract those visitors to Harborne. I'm also speaking to the person responsible for city dressing so that we can make Harborne look fabulous, and the bid will put some funding into that to get some really nice games branded stuff on our lamp columns and all that sort of thing, and maybe even light up some of our nice buildings or something. I'm not quite sure what we can achieve, but we'll do our best. Talking of decorating Harborne, Jubilee year, I think we're going to go a bit crazy with the old Union flags and red, white and blue, and pretty up Harborne for the Platinum Jubilee. Looking at my list, what else have we got? We will have, as I say, the Commonwealth Games. We've also got Harbaugh Carnival is back this year. Now, that's not a bid organised event. That's happening on Sunday, the 26th of June. Now, the bid doesn't organise that. It's a group of volunteers. But what we have done is I am now attending their committee meetings to represent the businesses, because we've had a lot of concerns in the past about businesses' frontages being blocked by fairground rides, and that we've got all these people coming into Harborne, and the businesses aren't able to take advantage of all of that footfall, and we want to show off our high street to people that are visiting. So sorry, my daughter's just walking in front of me with a bag of sweets. She obviously thinks I'm well enough occupied on this meeting that, anyway, not professional. So that's happening with the carnival. So we're sort of looking at how we can work with them. And the carnival should be good this year. It's going to have a bit of a change. But as I say, not a bid project. But what is a bid project? Some of you may remember the Green Village Fete from last year. We're looking to do that again. And I've been having conversations with some local environmental groups, the WI, etc., about how we can best involve Harborne with that, and that will be in September. And then the big thing is our ballot and balloting the businesses. So if you like what I'm talking about and you think it's been a positive thing, I'd really appreciate it if you'd share that with the businesses. If you think that the business improvement and their direct investment in Harborne has been a positive thing. Now Alexa's going off in the background, sorry. It would be really good to have that support from the community, really, that you like the things that we brought in. So Christmas lights, flowers, all of that is paid for by the businesses. And we would love to see that continue for Harborne. Oh, and a little planning thing today. I don't know if you spotted it, councillors, the phone box outside Oakman's, Britain Opticians, it's going. It's so dirty and horrible.
Really?
And a lovely high-tech things going in there in its place. So we need to find out how, as a community, we can use that screen. So I need to try and contact the account managers, but it's going to be like a high-tech communication thing. You can charge phones and make, I don't understand it, but we'll learn more. But it looks like it's a positive thing. Okay. I've talked you to, farmers market, sorry, just quickly, because I know a lot of people in the community are really interested in this. We ended up taking over the farmers market because Skets went bump in October. So I organised the November and December market. We've got some issues about where the actual stores are located, and we're working with the owners of the land where the market originally was to see if we can get a legal agreement to be able to continue on that site. That's all ongoing. So at the moment, the market is parked, but we will, the intention is to bring it back as soon as we can. It's just working out how to do that and who's going to do it and where the time's coming from.
That was very in-depth there, Kate. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. You're quite right about the graffiti, etc., because it is that broken window situation. You do need to get that fixed. Personally, on a note, I was great to see those benches went in. They've been a great thing for people, especially during the summer. And I have to again congratulate you, as I did before, on the Christmas fair and market that you guys put together, because I thought that was absolutely superb. And thank you for talking about the farmers market, and that's good news. And I also have to say as well, the other thing, and other people commented on to me about the wicker statues. That was another one that they said was a great thing.
Yeah.
I think you rescued those from somewhere, if I recall.
found them in a potting shed
That
and
was
called
it, I
them
knew that.
nurseries.
Great news about the Jubilee and the Carnival as well. And you mentioned about the ballot of the bid. Is there a date for that? Sorry?
Is there a date?
Yes.
It's not been completely finalised, but it will
Oh,
probably
right,
be,
okay.
yeah, it'll probably be end of September to end of October. It's a 4-week ballot.
Okay.
So
Just before I bring Jane in, thank you. I've just got here from Paul Weston about peacocks. Something about the sounder dive at the panels going off.
yeah, when you walk past, you can hear it. I've told them. Yeah, I've told them.
Okay, many thanks.
I'm not sure they care.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great update, Kate. So you've actually, despite you've been rather busy the past 6 months, with various things. It's good. I can't. I know, Gina. Sorry, I think Councillor Fowler should call you. Never mind. I'll make sure. Yeah, I can't get people to underestimate the importance of having a thriving high street for all sorts of reasons. Our residents want it. Businesses attract spending, which is really, really good for our local economy, which is why we're behind it. And we've got some really good places that vote recently, particularly on the food and drink front, which is excellent. So we're encouraging as many people as possible to take a stroll into Harborne and take advantage of the shops and businesses and the restaurants and bars that are on our high street. We're very, very lucky in the neighbourhood that we've got. Lots of other areas across the city would give their right arm to have somewhere like Harborne. So we should look after it and keep it clean and green. Gina, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Kate, if you're speaking to the people with regards to the carnival, can you ask them to be a bit more aware of where they're putting their equipment, because they tend to stick it right on a drop curb. Now, my son's in a wheelchair, so half the time he can't get up the pavements, he can't get out the road, and I just feel that that's been an ongoing thing for many years. I just don't think where they stick their big pieces of equipment, and you can't get the drop curbs.
Yeah, well, one of the things, I'll feed that back to Paul, who chairs the committee. One of the things with the carnival this year is I am told they're reducing the number of big fairground rides. I haven't got
a problem with any of the fairground rides. It's just where they stick everything.
Well, yeah,
the drop curbs.
What I'm saying is there will be less to drop to block curbs. But I will make that point, because that is something that when we did the Green Village Fete, we were very mindful of, to try and make sure, because I've come a cropper on that myself actually in the past of my jobbing when I did this in King's Heath, and yeah, it's not fair.
No,
you just don't think.
No. Thank you.
So yeah.
So I'm realising I'm back on mute there, Kate. Thank you very much indeed. That was fantastic with the great in-depth update on what the bid have been doing. So thank you very much indeed for popping along.
Peter, can I just add, actually, I've thought of something else. I've thought of something else that we've been doing. So basically, the whole thing around high streets is that they're changing. We've got all the competition from online shopping. It was sped up by COVID and people being at home and needing to online shop. And so high streets are increasingly reliant on the leisure sector, and the high street being a place where you want to be, where you want to dwell, where you don't have to worry about drop curbs, and where you're free to move around. And so I think, as I say, we're going for a ballot, and what we have to do as part of that ballot is we have to write a business plan for the next 5 years, and that is what the businesses will vote on. And one of the things that we're looking at is how Harborne looks and feels, and whether we can open it up a little bit more. So we've been working with Cllr, and also Councillor Francis and I have done a walkabout looking at what the obstacles are. Ages ago we did an audit, so there's a lot of, if you look, you'll see there's a lot of unnecessary posts and signage and things that get in the way, which I'm guessing if you've got a wheelchair to manoeuvre around Harborne does not help. And we obviously have a lot of people who are visually impaired in Harborne as well.
Half the shops are like that though as well inside. No thought.
Yeah. So we need to think more about our community and what makes people comfortable and want to stay, the kind of keywords of dwell times. So wider pavements, maybe, more greenery and all that sort of thing. So just to say that that's another thing on our watch list and agenda and kind of wish list for the future. Thanks,
Kate. Again, safer, greener High Street, and yes, and if you've got lots of posts and sign litter, as we call it, yeah, you used to say, well, do we really need that now? And updating, making sure the finger posts are there, that are updated and still relevant to today. One question I was asked by a lady has been a bit frustrating, because I was trying to find an answer, and I think this question may be a council situation. But I had a lady keep asking me, and I think I may have emailed you, about a public toilet.
The public
Really?
toilet doesn't exist, Peter.
Asking me about a public toilet, and I thought, well, I better ask the bid first, and then they'll probably tell me it's something to do with the council. That's the question.
Yeah. So the toilet was one of those self-cleaning toilets, and it was outside Iceland.
Right. Yes.
Where the Voy rack is now.
Mm-hmm.
It was removed probably, what, 3 years ago, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think after some unsavoury behaviour kept happening in there. And the signs are still over the high street pointing people to the toilets that don't exist, which
that's it. Thank you,
is not helpful. So that's something that we have raised, and we've been told that they will be removed. And that's right, isn't it, Jane? That we when we spoke to Aoife, she didn't see that as a problem, as something that could be sorted. It's all part of the street scene audit we did, but yeah.
Right, those unnecessary signs will be removed as soon as we get an order to do that. As far as the private type of toilet that was located outside Iceland, it was a problem a few years ago because people were using it to inject drugs.
Mm-hmm.
and do a lot of wheeling and dealing. So that's partly why it's removed. I think anybody, wherever you are in the city, either the city centre or in our suburbs, there's a real problem because there aren't any toilets. And that, of course, was exacerbated during COVID when everything was closed down. So what we have at the moment is a situation whereby the only time people can, particularly women, can take a pee is to go to a coffee shop or to sneak into a bar or something like that. So I think people learn where they can take advantage of those facilities. But it's something that certainly needs to be looked at, and I think Kate we can try and take that on board with officers and turn it into a public health issue, because that's essentially what it is.
Well, I can't remember the name of the lady, but actually what you said, I remember she did send me a photo of the post which had toilet, which is no longer there. And yes, the same situation as that was talking about with the toilet, about drugs, etc. Because in fact, if I recall, it then moved over to the telephone box, which is now disappearing, because that's where it was injecting in there. And the same with Jane. That's what I was saying to the lady was, well, there's bars and shops that I'm sure you can go to, but she still, and why not, still said there still ought to be a public toilet where you don't have to go to a bar or a shop to ask to use the toilet. So I said, well, at least we can investigate on that. So that's very, very well. And I shall return the message to her, Kate, that we are still looking into that. Incidentally, thinking of that, on toilets, are there enough places for ladies to be able to take their babies in to change? Because that was another question that was asked, and I said, well, I really don't know. I have been into various places, and I can't think of some of the coffee bars, and there is the bring down that you can actually lay the baby on and change nappies. But I just said, well, yeah, I agree. There ought to be lots of places where you should be able to change a baby if you need to. And of course, the other controversial one on some people, which is for another day, is about breastfeeding, which I think ladies should be able to breastfeed in a public place discreetly, but that's another day. But if you could look into that, Lou, Kate, be most helpful.
As a woman of somebody who's breastfed, I would put an objection to feeding a child in the toilet, absolutely obscene. Councillor Fowler, because we've moved into the 21st century, you will find that it's parent and child places which are available in pubs and cafes these days. So both men and women can do it. But obviously we would, well, certainly as a councillor, I would support a woman's right to breastfeed a child absolutely anywhere. Thank you.
That was my point, because when I first got elected onto the council, I was in a meeting, and that's exactly what the newspapers picked up on. Because I was in at Warwickshire County Council. I was in with the committee that dealt with breastfeeding in Warwickshire, and that's why I mentioned it in Harborne. So yes, you're quite right, Jane. I'm a big supporter that a lady should be able to feed her child anywhere. Thank you for that. The final one, item 6, is residents' news, concerns, updates. And I can see Gina's up there. Go on, Gina. You're muted, Gina.
With regard to toilets,
Yeah.
I've just tagged you in a post actually. That
All right.
I was going to speak to you about this, funnily enough, but they also have one of these like portable, accessible toilets in Harborne. That have got like the changing bed and the hoist, the accessible loos. Like you ought to stick one of them in, especially with all the special needs places you've got around the Harborne area, where people are taking the kids out of like the day centres and stuff, walking to Harbour and they get caught short. They've got nowhere. So one of those portable toilets would be a good thing.
Well, there you go. That's something for Kate and us to
at least
pick up.
the lady caught short, she can nip into the normal loos. People with wheelchairs and, you know, needing 2 carers, they can't.
Okay, good point. Thanks, Gina. Phil, I can see your hands up. Hello, Phil.
Yeah, on the question of toilets, of course, there were proper toilets in Harborne. When the block that was demolished for Home Bargains was built in the 70s, Councillor Wilkinson, leader of the council, demanded a provision of proper toilets in the block. And when the planning application went in for Home Bargains, they somehow or other got away with deleting that clause. The police were hostile to the toilets in its latter days because they were being advertised on homosexual and gay sites as a place to meet up. They were converted to solid metal equipment and ceilings, but the vandalism was absolutely appalling. But it was improved when there were actually restricted opening times, effectively sort of 9 in the morning till 5 at night type of times. And that did improve the situation, but Home Bargains were allowed to get away with having the toilet. It was right on the corner block, but you had to go up the side. And so we had them and they disappeared. That French idea was a complete and utter waste of time.
Thanks, Phil. Much obliged. Sometimes you wish I hadn't brought something up, but it just shows it was more interesting and people thinking of and talking about that than I thought. But I thought there were excellent points that residents made to me, so that's pretty good. I'm just seeing one. I don't know whether that's a legacy. No, I can see George Roberts.
Yes.
Hi, George.
I was just going to make one brief point about toilets, and then I'll ask an entirely separate question on an entirely separate topic. I used to work in the Hawkshead bar on the High Street, which is now unfortunately closed, but we would often have a huge range of people actually come in and ask to use our toilets, be that mothers with small children, pregnant women, and indeed we had people in wheelchairs from time to time as well, because not only were there signs for the public toilet on the High Street, but also apparently there is still some sort of information on the internet pointing to a disabled toilet being accessible on the High Street. So I don't know if there's any way of investigating, bringing that information down or updating it. My entirely separate point is about roads. I noticed, Councillor Fowler, that you sort of following you on Facebook, and I noticed that Harriet, your running mate, is here as well this evening. I noticed following on Facebook that you put a lot of posts about all the resurfacing that's going on at the moment. But I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's a Labour council who've found the money and are investing and selecting the roads. It's not got much to do with you, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you'll find that money comes from the council. So when we get calling for, in actual fact, when officers asked us for roads that we felt that needed fixing, Rose Road and the High Street was certainly two that I put forward. I think Councillor Francis did the same. Also, this was a suggestion from Stuart Cross from Cllr, which I supported when he took me around Harborne for the first time. So when I had the opportunity, that's when I put it forward. So when you think that we've all collectively got that done, then we're quite right and proud to announce that's what we've done.
We do have to be careful. I take on board what you're saying, Councillor Van, but ultimately it's Cabinet and the leadership that makes decisions about expenditure and investment. So whilst you might have supported it politically as a councillor, which you're perfectly entitled to do, it's a Labour City Council initiative and investment. We've only got 10 minutes left of this meeting.
Well, excuse me, Jane, with great respect, I'm chairing this meeting, so it's my time. I've got 10 minutes left, so thank you very much indeed. And to the answer was, as a city councillor, if I want to get something done and I call for it and it's done, then I'm quite proud to announce that we've been part of that success. With that, I'll hand over. Paul Weston, please.
I was just going to mention with regards to, and again, I can see Jean has mentioned with regards to West Boulevard. So again, I know that, Peter, I know you were on the email chains that, or the exchange that I had with Council so far, but I've just, on the last exchange we had with him, because I think it was a very poor response, as you alluded to earlier on. Yeah. But I think we definitely need traffic calming measures on the West Boulevard due to the incidents that have already happened. And through the email, I'd actually invited him to join either the ward or the PAC meeting, simply because I think that we do need him to actually come down. And as I said on the last email to him, I've invited him to West Boulevard so he can actually come and witness it for himself. So I think it's one of those that, while he may not be familiar or he may have been given the wrong information, I do still think that this is something, as all parties have basically said, it's a case of it's something that's needed for the local area. Because let's face it, it's impacting Harborne, Quinton and Bartley Green due to the speeds that's actually happening in those areas.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That I did write to Councillor Zaffer and included, I think it was yourself and Dominic and others, and yes, you got the response that we got. So yes, I think that that Wazim was, I think, is probably misunderstanding of what we're talking about. Because one of the things that we talked about was the accident that where I think it was about 3:30 in the morning, where a car went into the wall at the, is it the Quinton? What is Quinton Bar, is it, I think?
Yeah, Quinton Bar and Grill, the old Monarch.
Bar and Grill, thank you. And I mean, moreover, it's been about the speeding from the Bartley Green and that dual carriageway going up to along that particular stretch there to the Quinton Bar, where we've both seen cars speeding like crazy. And I drive down there 40 miles an hour and there are people bombing past me, letting that signage up. But by the by, yeah, we just need to try and get Councillor Zaffer down, and I think that I've spoken to Sajid Khan, who is the highways officer as well, because Marie was away in the States with family. So yes, I suggested to him that we just have a meet up there and see what progression that we make. And of course, you'll be aware that we put in a petition for stuff to be placed on there, not only cameras but a potential for an injunction. But there has been problems, Paul, with an injunction, because I know that there was a court case, I think it was down south, where they were challenging something about identification of the driver or something, and we've just had to hold back. And I'll see if I can get an update from the officers of where we are with that, because we do want to take that forward and see if we can stop this car cruising up and down that particular road. Does that help, Paul?
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask, or basically
that's
push
great.
it
I'm
out
glad
there.
you come on.
I know I've put something on the comments anyway with regards to Queen's Park, because I couldn't remember which ward it falls under, whether Queen's falls under Quinton or whether it falls under Harborne. So,
Right.
so I don't know whether to ask that one at the moment or literally just leave it in the chat.
It's Wesley, it falls under both wards, both Wesley.
It's both Quinton and Harbour.
Road.
Yes, I was going to say, I was just asking about the lighting and the bins, etc.
Yeah.
So I know it's a bit of an issue, or there has been a lot of issue there, especially over the last year, with regards to you get quite a few groups there because it's a dark area where they can go and hide over in the corners over by the parking, which obviously I think most of the time they lock the gate now at 4:30, but they still go and congregate there through past the Court Oak housing and just walk through and stay on the basketball court. So the next day when you do go over a weekend, there's lots of the little metal canisters, the oxygen canisters. And I think if there was lighting there, it would help, especially families in the area. So it's more of a hub. And again, bins, because obviously during the day where you do get quite a lot of kids on there, unfortunately, they don't take the time to take all their waste over to the car park where the closest bins are.
And I think, Paul, you probably had a leaflet or petition, should I say, because when walking or driving around, and driving around Welsh House Farm, particularly at night, I noted that there were pockets of Welsh House Farm that had brand new LED lighting, and that's been my call for further funding for improvements on street lighting throughout Welsh House Farm. And that petition has gone in, and we'll wait and see if we can find that funding. Similarly, I got new funding for Wentworth Way, that they're going to have LED lighting this summer. So pleased about that. So thank you, Paul, that the street lighting thing has gone in, and we'll wait and see what comes back from officers. I'm just.
Can I add one small thing? I was going to say, because I do street watch over in Quinton because I'm right on the border. But I know, speaking to the PCSOs, they were saying that they're looking at setting up a new group for street watch over in by Welsh House Farm.
Yes, sorry,
So
yes.
I know the new PCSO, Kate, who's starting more on the Quinton Bartley Green side, but I know she was looking at setting up a group there. So it's a perfect forum to actually mention it. So if there is anyone there, then it might be a case of obviously contacting yourselves as councillors, then they might be able to be put in touch with Kate. I know she hasn't started in our area yet, but when PCSO Lewis leaves in March, I think it is, she starts. So in the meantime, I was going to say, if you need me to pass over PCSO Lewis's contact details, so you can contact him if anyone's interested.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Paul. Beverly, do you want to come in? I just saw your hand raised.
Yes, Councillor. Yes, of course. Just to let you know that Stuart Cross from Cllr Highways is in the call as well. So should you need him to answer anything about highways and resurfacing, he's in the meeting.
Oh, thanks. I wasn't aware Stuart was there. Hi, Stuart. Can I just bring Cavan in, because I'm conscious we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Cavan.
Thank you. Looking at Harborne, I know we've got some issues of antisocial behaviour, and we had a recent issue in our Metchley Grange estate where we had like a group of youths come in and tag parts of Kendall Tower. They got into the actual reception area and caused about £2,000 worth of damage to glass and that. They smashed through, communal windows in the corridor. We've got them all boarded up and all made safe. But my main concern is, what can we do to expand the use of CCTV? What can we do to make sure that local youths have got things to keep them occupied with in a constructive manner, to keep them out of doing these kind of things? And the final question is a highways based question, which is On Bantop Way, obviously, we've got issues with parking from the hospital and parking from outside of the estate. What do you think the chances are, or the possibility is, of exploring the painting of double yellow lines on that road? Because we've got issues where people who rent the garages out there can't even get their cars out because people are coming onto the estate, being inconsiderate, parking in front of the garages and causing people no end of hassle when they're trying to get to work or to visit friends or family or so on. So that's really my question.
Well, thank you on that Bantop Way. Thank you for that. And Ben has taken a note of that, and we'll look into that for you if that's all right. Kevin, more CCTV. Yeah, I always welcome more CCTV. And yeah, and where we can, if we can get more things for our young people, yeah, the more the merrier for me. If we can get more, and if you can let me know the sort of things that, because that's one thing that we do need to find out, Kevin, is asking the young people what they want, because often I hear what people, let's give them this and let's give them that. Yeah. It's finding out from the young people, what do you want? What would you like? And of course, the caveat with that as well is how long it's going to take to develop that. Because I remember from many years ago, I remember officers, in fact, not this authority, but they were talking about something that that the youth wanted. And by the time they actually got it, those young people that actually wanted it had moved on. They got a bit older, girlfriend, boyfriend, and of course the fad had changed. So yeah, there is that. If you've got some ideas, Kevin, if you want to let us know, we'd very much appreciate you coming on board and letting us know, Kevin. Is that helpful?
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Just before we say goodbye, Stuart, I'm conscious you are online, so to speak. Is there anything you wanted to add at all? About, oh, there he comes. Hello, Stuart.
Hi, Councillor. You okay?
Is there anything that you wanted to add at all from what you've been doing from your side?
I'll be very quick because I appreciate I'm a bit late to the meeting. So, yes, obviously, the ongoing work at the moment in the ward at Cllr Avenue, the footways, the High Street, obviously, the work planned for the future, Rose Road, that's been resurfaced April, sorry, that's been resurfaced in May. And obviously the work we've done so far in your ward, and that's in front of me a second ago. So obviously Metchley Lane, I think, still ongoing. We've got Waterbourne Road later this year as well. Also on a slightly more smaller note, I suppose, but we've also done some tree planting at the moment. So we've planted about 13 trees in the ward this planting season as well. So yeah, it's not just potholes, it's nice stuff as well, which is good. Makes my day more interesting. So yeah.
Thanks, Stuart. And just in case, I think I don't know whether I misheard those. I think when I asked a little bit that with Rose Road, it was planned for towards the end of May, but Thomas, the officer I spoke to, has brought it forward to the first week in April. And said if he can, he's going to try and bring it forward a little bit more, which for me is excellent news, and the residents are pretty chuffed about that as well. Councillor Francis, Jane.
Thank you. I just want to pick up one of Kevin's comments with regards to services and activities for young people. This is something that we put into our ward plan, of course, as a priority. And shortly I'll be in a position to announce investment in youth services across the city because it's part of my portfolio. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Jane. That nicely brings us round. I think that was it. Looking at here, any other business? Gone. With that, bringing us nicely up to 8 o'clock. Can I thank you all very much indeed for attending, for all the input you've given to us all, and for all the attendees such as Nick. It's a shame. Oh, and one thing for your diaries, to be confirmed. I did look on my emails. The next next packed meeting, the police, I can't remember what it's called. It's provisional date of the 3rd of March at 7 o'clock and venue to be confirmed, although the last time it was at the Harborne Cricket Club. So that's the next packed meeting. Provisionally at the moment, the 3rd of March, and I'm sure Sergeant Bushra will update us with the actual date when she's back up a little bit later on. But again, thank you all for attending and have enjoyed the rest of the evening. Good night all.
Good night.